Hey, we're Camilla and Anouk and we converted Dakar, our 4x4 Mitsubishi Pajero, into a camper. Over the next few months we're going to travel along the Balkans and head south towards Greece before the winter catches us. We started our journey in late summer and drove from Germany to Croatia, Bosnia and Montenegro, and are now heading towards Serbia, Macedonia and Kosovo.
We crossed the border to Serbia on a rainy Monday. We slowly head towards a city in the center of Serbia, where we'll have a little apartment for the next few days, after a whole month of traveling and living from within Dakar. On our long ride, we listen to podcasts while our surroundings slowly start to change again.
Nach dem Zweiten Weltkrieg in Europa. Die Vergangenheit, Gegenwart und Zukunft des Staates Bosnien-Herzegowina habe ich mit dem SZ Osteuropa-Korrespondenten Florian Hassel geblickt. Sie hören auf den Punkt, den Nachrichtenpodcast der Süddeutschen Zeitung.
We arrive in the evening in Kragujevac and enjoy eating a pizza and not having to cook by ourselves. We are accompanied by a little cat that evening, but enjoys the dry and cozy place next to us. The next few days we relax, take a look at the city and repair my bike.
We can't document a Balkan road trip without speaking about the cars, driving styles and streets. The absolute favorite car here is a Volkswagen Golf. Broken windscreen wipers, paint damage or exchanged parts in different colors are special bonuses. It's best to simply leave German stickers on the car. Jägermeister and Bäckerei Fritz, unser Brot backen wir täglich frisch, are signs of car quality, because really many cars are imported from Germany.
You can imagine that standards are very different here. We see so many cars driving without license plates, completely overloaded, children playing on the lap of the driver, or cars with important essentials broken, like missing headlights, and many tunnels here aren't illuminated. The Balkan driving style is very unpredictable. If there's one thing certain, nothing is certain, and everything is possible. Parking in the middle of a 3-lane roundabout? Yes, of course you can. Almost on the motorway, deciding you want to make a U-turn and not go on the motorway? Well, if you wish. Making a 2-lane street a 3-lane street while overtaking? Well, if the others go to the right a bit, that's perfectly fine, isn't it? So you have to be prepared for everything. I thought it would make me feel very unsafe while driving, but no, you just have to drive very presently and not rely on any priority rules. The others will do the same and everything will be perfectly fine. Street conditions were okay if you don't leave the main roads. Otherwise, we were happy to drive a car that isn't dependent on streets at all. And you can forget Google Maps over here. If you want to have an adventure, simply follow Google Maps recommendations for the shortest route. You'll be dashing through forests, crossing rivers, and you're supposed to drive roads that don't even exist. After leaving the city, there's one special place we really want to visit. Devil's Town is a natural monument with 202 earthen pillars with volcanic caps on top. These pillars resulted from century-long erosive processes and are unique in Serbia and rare in the world. The figure's up to 15 meters high. You might ask why it's called Devil's Town. Well, there's a story about how the devil bewitched a brother and a sister to hopelessly fall in love with each other and made them want to marry. As God saw their cheerful wedding, he got so furious he petrified the young couple and all the guests as punishment. Strange story, isn't it? There are also extremely acidic and highly mineralized springs all around the place. Macht Spaß!
Ja, schon lustig.
Immer nur der Regenbändiger. Zufrieden? We want to cross the border to Kosovo on the 1st of October. A day before, Camillo checks the information online, and we realize that a new law is going to come into effect the day we plan to cross. Cars registered in Kosovo aren't allowed to have Serbian number plates anymore. To understand this law, you need to know that Kosovo has been fighting for independence from Serbia for many years. The Kosovo War only ended in 1999. In 2008, they declared their independence. This independence has been recognized by 150 states, but not by Serbia, obviously. Russia, China, Spain, Greece, Romania, and some more countries. You can imagine this makes the whole matter really complicated. Even NATO still has a peace force in Kosovo to intervene in emergencies. Border crossings can be difficult. For example, you can't enter Serbia from Kosovo, because in Serbia's opinion, you entered the country illegally. You can imagine the chaos.
Long story short, we entered Kosovo the following day without any problems. The border official was the friendliest we have ever had. He spoke German fluently and helped us with the insurance for the car. Apparently, our international insurance isn't valid in Kosovo. We head to Pristina, the capital of Kosovo. Park outside the city and drive in with the bikes. Kosovo has the euro, even though it's not part of the EU. Everything is written in the Latin alphabet and not in Cyrillic, as in Serbia. The country seems to be obsessed with America. There's a Bill Clinton square with a huge statue and flags. All around the country we see the weirdest combinations of flags. You can really feel how much effort the country makes to position itself close to the West. Nevertheless, we see much graffiti in Serbia and the border regions of Kosovo with the writing "Kosovo is Serbia." Still, we felt really safe in Kosovo. The people are very friendly and speak good English in the capital. Here you can see the National Library of Kosovo, built in brutalist style. Brutalism comes from the French word béton brut, meaning raw concrete. This building is often referred to as being one of the ugliest buildings in the world. From above it looks fascinating and extraordinary though.
For the next few days in which we stay in the capital, we stand in a big public park on the outskirts of Pristina. Since entering Serbia, we've noticed ever more street dogs and wild dogs all around. Street dogs will be part of our journey from Serbia over Kosovo, North Macedonia and Albania, down until Greece. We've never really been confronted with dogs without owners, and it stirs up many questions and emotions. In some places there are dog gangs that roam the streets. They are unpredictable and sometimes even aggressive. Other street dogs are extremely sociable and sweet. They only beg for food, some attention and a warm cuddle. They start to accompany you, sleep in front of a car, enthusiastically wake you in the morning, and follow you wherever you go, as if you would go for a walk with them, like every other dog owner would do on a daily basis. They slowly sneak their way into your heart and whirl up many questions. What happens if no one feeds them, if they get ill, if it gets icy cold in winter? They are part of society, living their lives as everyone else here. Mostly treated nicely by locals, cuddled and fed. But the problem is more complex than that. Most of them aren't sterilized, and each year they have many little pups. Sometimes little puppies jump onto the street and play in the middle of nowhere. What is their future? It's heartbreaking to imagine.
With a few stops in the countryside, we drive through Kosovo. At some point the highway begins, and only there do we realize that we haven't been driving faster than 80 for the last month. So 120 kilometers an hour feels extremely fast. And we enjoy the easy driving on a broad, undamaged and predictable road. The highway takes us right into North Macedonia and its capital Skopje. We again have the problem of registration, so the rest of the day we try to find out where and how to register. Officially, every day in the country has to be registered. Hotels and Airbnbs do that automatically for you, but staying in a car makes the whole matter quite difficult. We try to register at the address of a friend of ours in Macedonia, but are told the person you stay with has to join you personally and must even show his rental contract. It's a complete bureaucracy nonsense and almost impossible to do by yourself. So after a whole exhausting day of searching places, asking people and trying to estimate how strict the regulations are, we decide to spend our first night in a hostel. so we're at least registered for our first day. In the evening we finally have a proper look at the city. If you don't register, you can be fined 500 to 1,000 euros in Macedonia. Many countries want to stop the black market of non-registered accommodations like that. But guess what? No one at the border bothered to even ask where we stayed, let alone if we registered.
You might have noticed that Skopje looks a little peculiar. Something is strange about this city. It somehow has this theme park feeling with all the statues, bridges and different building styles. But this city hasn't always been like that. Skopje 2014 was a huge reconstruction project in which monuments were built, streets were changed, and they even covered over the facades of houses to make them look antique. Not only did it cost a lot of money, around $700 million, but it also cost them their authenticity. With everything being fake, it also feels fake, as if you're in Disneyland. The government is strongly criticized for spending so much money on the appearance of the capital, instead of supporting the population in the rest of the country, which is struggling with much more basic problems. But there are also quite some old buildings left from the Ottoman Empire. Spomenik. We stumbled upon this word very early upon our journey. It sounds strange and a little mysterious. But the Spomeniks of ex-Yugoslavia are much more than a peculiar word. They are history.
Spomeniks are abstract anti-fascist World War II memorials built in the 1950s until the 1990s, during Tito's Socialist Republic of Yugoslavia. They represent many different things to many different people, but the primary intent was to honor its people's resistance struggle during World War II against Axis occupation and oppression. There are far over 14,000 Spomeniks scattered all over the former Yugoslavian region, and all of them have a story to tell.
This particular Spomenik is located in Veles and is shaped like a poppy flower at a point of bud cracking, symbolizing the birth of something new, depicting a cracked helmet, a symbol of defeated fascism.
This one is called Macedonium and looks very futuristic, even though it was opened in 1974.
When starting our journey, all the Balkan countries were one big blob. Where lies Bosnia? Montenegro has borders to Croatia. Oh, and Albania is situated at the Mediterranean? One country I remembered, North Macedonia. In 10th grade, Camille and I went to Wales for our social internship. There I met Dima from North Macedonia, and I remember him saying, "Macedonia is so beautiful, but unknown to many. It doesn't have beaches, so many don't consider traveling there." I still had Dima's contact from 5 years ago on Instagram, so I simply wrote him. And we met up, and together with his wife, we went for a little hike.
Macedonia is very beautiful and stunning. Landscape-wise, it's quite different to Kosovo, Serbia and Montenegro. It's very vast and has soft rolling hills. Our hike took us through this beautiful landscape, and we were grateful that it was still so warm in early October.
So we heard about this place called Marble Lake. A few years ago, this was an abandoned marble mine with a turquoise lake, absolutely stunning. But the last Google reviews we could find are from 2 years ago, and Dima tells us that the marble mine is in operation again and on private grounds. We are curious and decide to pass by on a Sunday.
We reached the hidden lake after a long ride on winding dirt roads. And yes, the place is now fenced off and 5 huge black dogs guard the place, even on the weekend. But we saw smoke rising from one house and called. No one answered. We waited for a bit and an old man returned from fetching firewood. When he saw us, he greeted us friendly, so we dared to ask him if we might enter and have a look at the marble mine. He signaled us in and let us have a look around the surreal place. Huge marble bricks lying around like pebbles, machines and over-proportional chainsaws, everything covered with fine white marble dust. We have fun taking photos and trying to capture its beauty. The challenge hereby was that the white surfaces reflect the sunlight extremely well, and it was hard to keep your eyes open. Due to the white marble reflecting all the sunlight, the surfaces were icy cold.
After having a look around, we returned to the old guard and brought him a marmalade as a thank you. He promptly invited us in for coffee, and we drank the worst coffee we ever had. First problem, we both really dislike coffee. Second problem, his version of coffee was instant powder poured over with cold water. He seemed to live a very modest life and still invited us in. He was so friendly and open-hearted, even though we were absolute strangers and couldn't exchange one word in a common language, so we were too polite to refuse his coffee offer. We sat there and he somehow managed to explain us that he is 74, in retirement and lives here to guard the place and earn some extra money to his very low pension of 140 euros a month.
On we go to the Heraclea excavation site, once a flourishing ancient Greek city, then Roman and abandoned in the 6th century AD after an earthquake and Slavic invasions. So they found many historical relics like vases, statues and wonderful mosaics. Normally the colors of mosaics have faded over the centuries, but here they use different colored marble, so the colors haven't lost their intensity. The only one who was allowed to walk over the mosaics was the cat living here, who joined us on our exploration tour. There is quite a bit of marble all around this area in Macedonia, and not only white one as the one we saw. The excavations here are ongoing, and you can watch how people are working on restoring mosaics and finding walls. So if you come back in a few years, the site will be bigger and with new insights and new stories to tell.
Most people who visit Macedonia only visit the most southern part of the country, a place called Lake Ohrid, a huge and crystal clear lake. On our way towards Albania, we pass by and have a look at the city of Ohrid. We don't stay very long. Even in mid-October, you can feel that this place is designed for tourist masses, boat trips, souvenir shops and overpriced restaurants. But everything is advertised in English and labeled with euros, places you better stay away from. We knew the prices from the inland, and these here were incomparable.
We drive up the mountain between Lake Ohrid and Prespes Lake and spend the night high above the lakes. The next day we're going to cross the border to Albania, but first we're going to fuel up and fill all 3 petrol cans, because the diesel prices will go from €1.55 to a crazy €2.10 per litre. German prices we haven't missed at all. With 105 liters of diesel we're going to enter this country and try to drive as fuel efficient as somehow possible. Albania will surprise us in many more ways. Entering Europe's poorest country known for corruption and criminality, but also surprised us with breathtaking untouched nature, stunning beaches we have all to ourselves, and summer seems to return for a few weeks. We're looking forward to Albania and Greece. See you soon.